what happens when somebody comes in and then there's another person who wants to come in? Is there a way to set up like a waiting room so you can talk to people one at a time?
Okay, that is a good question. We have looked at that. I do not believe really that there's one where, other than, so what we're doing right now, for example, is we have some breakout rooms
Hmm.
where we're working, we're having one faculty member with, or work with one of our staff members. And so that's something where you can have, you can be able to have one person go into another room and be able to talk with someone that way.
Okay.
So it's something also where you can be able to schedule people. Now, if you're doing
Yeah.
open office hours, I know that's, you wanting to be able to have people come in whenever.
Yeah.
So that one way to do that maybe is through the open, be able, maybe go back into, like right now we're in the main session, the main room. So
Uh-huh.
you can have people maybe in there and let them know, okay, once I'm done with this person, I can go, I can then let you know and have you come into the room with me as well. So that's one
Okay,
possible
that
way
makes
to do
sense.
it. So,
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, cool.
so okay, and scheduling sessions it works as well, or is
Yeah.
be able to work with them on that. So, open
Okay,
office hours it's a little different. They can't be
right.
staying out in the hallway. I know. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
okay. You have any other questions on Ultra? Because we were actually going to do a short training on that for people, especially if they were new to it. But it sounds like you were already starting to use it a little
Well,
bit,
I
or
started to use it, but I haven't really had a class session yet. I'm gonna have a bunch tomorrow though. So anything that you were gonna do will be helpful for me.
okay, okay. And really quickly here, I want to see Dr. Rogers. Can you hear us? It looks like he's come back into the room.
Yeah, except they say she instead of he.
Dr. Rogers, are you there? He we're having trouble here a moment ago with being able to get him into the main room here. Let me. I have the presentation set up, so maybe Kim, would you mind being able to message him and let him know Japheth is still in that other room,
Yeah.
available, but just see if he's able to hear right now. Okay. If so, then I'll go ahead. I'll start sharing this presentation, and this can help you
Great.
out, and we'll see where we go from there. So let me just
Okay.
share my screen now. And pretty simple presentation. Let me know if you can go ahead, if you can see that there.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, so um, maybe just be able to talk you through some of these things here. We'll actually be able to look at this here. I can share my screen in a moment to show you some of this, but
Okay.
just an idea here is some things, features. Darn for Dr. Rogers there. Audio is bad. Is anyone else having a
Oh,
problem with audio right now? Or are you able to hear
it's
things
clear
well?
for me.
Yeah, it's
Huh.
clear for me too.
Okay.
Sounds great to me.
Huh. Well, I'm just going to start off here at least with mentioning, what are some of the features, and you've already mentioned one of them here, but um, so I'll start off here. What I was going to look at talking about here. First of all, why use Collaborate Ultra or any of these tools? These tools. You've heard a lot about Zoom and maybe Google Hangouts or things like that. Um, does it is it just my audio, or does anybody else have problems from what Kim was mentioning there?
Sounds fine to me.
Sorry,
Yep,
I
I'm
thought I was
fine.
messaging him, just him. So sorry,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
private chat with him. I
No,
apologize.
no problem. No problem. We got so much going on here at the same time. It's kind of crazy. Uh, okay, so there's his phone number. So yeah, talking about why use Collaborate Ultra, and especially because as far as Ultra, that it's already in Cougar View. So for our students and our classes, they can be able to come straight into the course. We don't have to send any outside links or things like that. We're going to look at starting and entering a session and moderating a session. What are some of the different tools and features there? Being able to share your content, like sharing your screen or a PowerPoint presentation, and being able to create and work with groups as we're doing right now, and also setting up a separate session. So some of the things here. So if there's anything in particular that jumps out, let us know. And looks like Warren Church has just joined us as well. Hi, Warren. Can you hear us? Oh, we got a couple of people here who are joining us right now. So folks, if you've just joined us, we are we are looking at Collaborate Ultra as a tool here. Now, if you have questions about something else besides this, that's just fine. We can be able to send you into a breakout room here in Collaborate Ultra and have you work with someone else if that's of interest to you. So if you are not interested in learning more about Collaborate Ultra and how to use it with your students right now, please go ahead and either raise your hand or make a comment in the chat if you're able to there, and we can be able to have you work one-on-one with someone else here in the group. Okay. Any questions there from anyone?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go ahead then. So, some of these different features here. Let's go ahead and start off with talking about why using Collaborate Ultra. Some of the different. Warren, is that you?
I'm sorry. Am I messing around too much? Sorry.
No, that's did you? So this is kind of an open session right now. We're for a lot of people, we figured we'll focus on Collaborate Ultra for many people. But if you have a question about other issues, we can be able to actually put you into a breakout room here in the system so that you can work one-on-one with someone else. So if you have a question about like gradebook or about just something else right now, if you'd like to work with someone one-on-one here in the system, we can be able to partner you with someone as well. But if you'd like to hear more about this as well, you can just stick around and learn here too. So what would you prefer?
I'm right where I need to be. I want to find out about Collaborate Ultra. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes, we can. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, then I'll go on. I'll continue then. So, what can you do with Collaborate Ultra? So, first of all, you can be able to do live class sessions. So, for some faculty right now, the most they're able to do as far as transitioning and saying, can I be able to continue on with my class, or at least be able to meet on occasion, meet once a week, whenever it is, and have as many of us together as possible. Absolutely. So this is one way to be able to do that. We have people join in. Another way is through open office hours and being able to either have a set scheduled time, or you can tell your students, I'm going to come into the regular course room at this certain time and just come into the course and meet me there. Okay. Also, holding a special class session. This is one way to do like open office hours, is to set up or create a separate session. And we're going to look a little bit here for those of you who haven't looked at Collaborate Ultra yet. We will look at my own personal sandbox or personal course on how to do some of this here. And then also another option that you may not be aware of, even if you know about like meetings together and things like this, because it's in Cougar View, it's in your own course, you can have students meet together separately even without you there. And so it can be a way for them to meet together, and you can set up times for them to meet as teams or other groups like that, be able to practice things and be able to work together online even without you. So that's those are some nice options right there. Okay. Any questions right there so far?
Nope.
Okay. Move on here. So we're gonna look here. We're gonna go back and forth a little bit between the PowerPoint and between another screen here. So, but as far as starting and entering a session, now the way that you guys have been joining us today so far has been through a link that we sent out in the newsletter, I assume, for most of you. But if you're doing this through your course, that you can be able to, well, we'll show you first of all how to get to the Collaborate link or to the tool. If you have gone into your college's Quick Start course, okay, there are directions there for how to bring Collaborate Ultra into your class, but I will show you that here in just a moment. Okay, and something of note here for people, lots of times if they're having struggles with actually getting into the course, that when you first come into it, you may even see it saying that you're joining the session, but it's going to ask you for your audio and for your camera, things like that, to make sure that you've chosen those tools you're going to be able to use. And also your first time into the system, it's going to ask you if you want to go through the official tutorial or if you want to do that later. And with some of those things, until you've clicked either you want to go through the tutorial or you want to do it later, it won't allow you to click on things like your microphone to be able to unmute yourself. And so you might hear other people saying, hey, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? And you can't click on your microphone yet to to respond to them because you haven't clicked off on some of those things yet. So the same thing also to be aware of with your students, that they might be having troubles getting into the course, and actually it's just that they haven't clicked yes, you were allowed to use my microphone, yes, you're allowed to use my camera, no, I don't want to do the tutorial right now. Okay, so let me go ahead here and I'm going to share my other screen here. And I should also mention about something here, well, as I do this, that I'm going to share a screen, and in a moment you're going to think, oh no, what's happened, what's gone wrong? And I want to assure you that there is nothing wrong. Okay, so but a part of the reason for that is to be able to let you know for when you're doing this with your own students how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and share that screen now. Okay, so this is the moment at which a faculty member says, oh no, I've broken the internet, what have I done? And we can assure you that is not the case. All right, so if you're seeing this kind of error effect right here, that is okay. This is what happens when you are sharing the same screen that you're working in. Okay, so all you have to do in this case is you move to whatever tab or whatever window that you're wanting to share. Okay, so right now, does everyone see where it says at the top there, Randall Garver Sandbox?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one good way to do this here, if I want to share my screen, I want to show something to my students, is I simply pull that tab out and make it a new window. Okay, that way when I share it, I can be able to go there and I can just be able to choose immediately that separate window, and not ever have my students see that forever mirror effect right there. Because even if you know what's happened, sometimes your students see that and say, oh no, professor, what's happened, everything's going wrong, and it's okay, but they don't. So okay, so this is my own sandbox here, and if for some of you, if this is familiar, this is from the Common Course template that we in the Center of Online Learning suggest using. Okay, so that's why you'll see modules here on the left side. Okay, and here you are able to upload or create new content, upload new files, or make links and things like that. Over here, and if I see or I hear at least that there are some comments being made, if some of the other moderators can maybe check those out or respond to them. If there's a question, let me know. But here in this button, it says existing activities. And so I go here to external learning tools. Collaborate Ultra is a tool that we bring into CougarView. And so it's one of these external learning tools that we have here. So existing activities to external learning tools. I click on there. And the information about how to do this also is in your CougarView Quick Start course under the section on Collaborate Ultra. Okay, so it's really a 4-step process. It's pretty fast here. And you can see here the different activities, the different tools it lists. I click here on Collaborate Ultra. And it says topic saved successfully. And actually it was just added right here. Okay, you can see up here I have it previously, but just to show you what this looks like new, now I have that tool available to me. And it's now here going permanently in this module. And so I have in module 1, I have this tool. And also, so then when students go into the course, if they were going into my first module here, they would see this available in their course. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions on what we've just talked about?
Question. Ultras, or do we need to explain that to them?
Say that again.
Do students know what Collaborate Ultra is, or do we need to send them an email saying, when we meet in class, you need to go here and find the thing that says Collaborate Ultra? Will they be familiar with it or not?
They some of their faculty, some of their other courses may already be using it, but I would send them an email and say,
Okay.
for example, if it were here in my module 1, I would tell them, okay, tomorrow go into module 1, and where you see it say Collaborate Ultra, click on there, and then we'll see here in just a second. You'll be able to tell them the next step here. So if we click on here.
Okay.
No, good question.
And if I could also add, Randy, you can change the name of that. You can change that title. It doesn't have to say Collaborate Ultra. If you want to change that title to Virtual Office Hours or whatever
Yeah.
you call it, maybe you call it a live session because you're interacting with the students in
Yeah.
real time. You can change the name of that because really you're just making that that a page in your content.
Excellent
Okay,
point, Kim. Thank
that
you.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
So like, come on here to edit title, and make that whatever. If you want it to be open office hours, if you want it to be classroom meeting place, whatever it is. So thank you. Appreciate that. That's a great point.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, in your own course, so when you come in here, whatever you have the title there as, it's going to say here, it won't say sandbox. It'll say the name for your course, and it'll say course room. Okay, and this is the main meeting area for your students here, or where they can go. And right here it says create session. This is not something that they have an option for, or you don't see in student view, because you're the one, it's your course, you're the one who has the option to create a session. We'll look at that here maybe in a few more minutes, but being able to come here, this is what that looks like. Over here where it says session options, okay, this is where we can come beforehand. We can either say join the course room, which we can. We can also do that by simply clicking on here. We can edit the settings for the session, which we'll look at. There are different reports that you can view afterwards, such as who attended the session. And this is the copy a guest link. For most of you, you're not going to need the guest link if you're just doing this with the students in your course, right? The guest link is for what you would send to anybody outside of your Cougar course. Okay, and then lock course room. This is for if you didn't want anyone to go in there without you being there. It's just like if you were locking your own classroom. Okay, then this makes it so no one can go in there. Okay, so different options here. I'm hearing maybe some posts or either people entering or questions. Anything from people? Okay. So those are ways we can. So those are some of the options right there. Again, we can also simply click on here. And if I click where it's, yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but talking about that guest link, if you have two sections of the same class,
Yeah.
you have two different courses, what you could do is set up your virtual office hours or your Collaborate Ultra in one class and grab that guest link and email it to all the students in the other class. Then they all are able to come into one class, one Collaborate session.
That's
Excellent
handy.
point. Yes, thank you.
So, but if you teach two different classes and you only want to use one office hours, then you can either hold two different Collaborate sessions, which is probably the best, because if it's two different classes, you'll have students from asking about two different types of assignments, and that might get confusing. But if it's the same class, two sections, just grab that guest link and give it to the other students, and everybody goes in to the same class. Sorry, Randy.
No, that's excellent. That's a great point, because that, and we'll come back to the later as far as, and I think I forgot to mention this or put this on the slides as far as recording sessions too. Then, because after you've had a session and you can record one, they can also be able to go in later and be able to view the recording. If they're not within that course, you can be able to send them that link so that they can watch it later as well. So thank you for bringing that up, Kim. So there's ways to be able to do a lot of different things here, such as, if you're teaching multiple sections of the same course, like she was saying. So, so if we click here on the course room, okay, it'll give us some of those same options that we were seeing a moment ago, such as lock course room, another way to be able to join the course room. And here's also for being able to get that guest link, and you can also be able to change the guest roles. So for all of you who are joining us right now, you are currently listed as participants in the course. This means you can be able to ask questions, you can be able to speak, and make comments in the chat and things like that. The other roles, and those of us who are running the session right now, we are all listed as moderators. So there's participants, presenters, and moderators. The difference is, think of it like if you're in a lecture hall, okay, or maybe at a professional conference. You have participants, those who are sitting in the audience who are listening. You have the presenters, who are the ones who are actually going to be sharing information, and then you have the moderators. The moderators are the ones who are running things, okay? And in this case, they are able to control different settings, that are taking place. So moderators are able to move people. We'll look later at groups, for example. Moderators are able to move people to different breakout rooms. We're able to be able to mute people's microphones. So let's say there's maybe some crosstalk or there's a lot of people chatting when your class begins. You can be able to momentarily mute people's mics. And of course, in your own course, you will be a moderator. All right, so you can be able to give different permissions there. Presenters, they're able to share content, and we'll look at that here as well, of how to be able to share your, right now we're looking at how to share your screen or how to be able to share a file, be able to work on the whiteboard, things like that. So why would this be something you'd want to give maybe to a guest to give them a different level of role? I mentioned earlier that if you had students, what's
We
that?
can do that. Sounds like. Oh, sorry. That was me.
Oh, no problem. So
Question?
let's say you had, yes, question?
Just when we set this up, 'cause I did this before and felt like I was so close. Basically, I was just trying to talk to the group, but I think I made them all moderators or something like that. So what I'm wondering here is that, am I moderator by default as soon as I set this up and everybody else is a participant, unless I change
Yes.
that guest role? Okay.
That is correct. And I should mention this is also something that you can change once you're in the session. We'll see that as well here. So yes, you and your course by default are the moderator. Now, why would you maybe want to give them different settings before setting up a session? Well, I mentioned earlier that you could have it where your students are going to go into your room or like you're setting up a specific session for them to go in and practice together or to participate in things. And so you want them to be able to go in your room even when you're not there and meet as a group. And so you set up a session where they are each of them the moderators, or at least the presenters. They can be able to show things to each other. And so this becomes a nice tool for giving them the opportunity to work in your room, again, like a study session of some kind. So that's why you can have those different roles there. And also, once you're in the session, you can be able to change those roles as the moderator as well during the session. Looking here at the session settings, okay, default attendee role. So this is the question was asked just a moment ago of, if people come in, they are by default usually the participant. You can set that differently if you wish. I think it's best usually just best practice to go in and just have them be participants on a regular basis, but you can change that for different specific sessions when you create one. Other settings here, recording. One that we encourage you to do, recording here, is to allow recording downloads. This is so that, especially for our students who have, have specific accommodations where they need to be able to have opportunities to record a lecture. This is good then because they can go in later and they can click to download that recording. So they can be able to have that again, review your notes, review whatever presentation or meeting it was. You can anonymize the chat message. Moderator permissions, different things here showing profile pictures for moderator only. Participants can do any of the following here: share audio, share video, post chat messages, draw on the whiteboard and files, and we'll see what that looks like here in a minute. So these are ones you can choose to turn on or off. Enable the session, allow attendees to join the session using a telephone. There has been some challenges in the last few days, and Blackboard Collaborate is working on this as far as if you were calling in or you were trying to use specifically the audio through your phone, where they've been having some challenges there, and they are working to resolve that. They're expecting to have that done very soon. So if you do have any of your students try to call in simply listening for the audio, or if I can't remember if it's simply the audio for the computer session, or if it's that because there's a phone number, like with Zoom, there's a phone number they can call where they just listen to the session. And so that is something that they're actively working to resolve right now. And any of the others from our center, if they remember the exact issue, they can let us know. And so those are the main settings right there. Okay. We'll look here, once we get into the session, we will look at some other settings we can have once we're in there. Any questions at this moment?
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Just synchronous sessions in general. Sometimes Anne just posted that she got disconnected, got bumped out. Sometimes those things happen. You're in the middle of a session, you're in the middle of a presentation, or you're talking with a student, and for whatever reason, the internet gods are not smiling down on you, and you get bumped out, and all of your students are in the classroom by themselves, and you have to, log back on. Go with the flow with these kind of things. It happens. And there's nothing wrong with, things going haywire and just saying, you know what, folks, this is just not going to happen anymore tonight. We're just going to stop the session and try it again next time. I mean, it's perfectly fine. This doesn't have to be something that is overly stressful for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen, and sometimes things don't work the way they're supposed to. This isn't the only way you can, interact with your students and keep a presence in the classroom. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, that's
Absolutely
helpful.
appreciate that. Yeah, and that's something here we can't emphasize enough, folks. Is people already are aware of this now, but just kind of going with the flow, like Kim said there, of being willing to adapt. And if usually these things work pretty well, but there's the person who isn't able to log in, or their audio is not working, different things. Again, part of the reason why it's helpful to record the session, so maybe they can go in and watch it later. But to be able to make the best of things right now. So, and we hope that by the end of this, this whole challenge for people, that they come to find that some of these tools are very, very helpful. And even if they go back to teaching face to face, some of them still employ a lot of these tools. So, yeah, we appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. This is, for a lot of people, this is very different than the norm, and so you're willing to adapt is a big help. So.
And,
Excellent. Yeah.
I knew what to do when I got disconnected. I got the message, even disconnected, but I knew that I could just go back and re-enter the room again. And so it doesn't hurt to let your students know that if they got disconnected, that they can jump right back on.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, with that in mind, let's go ahead here and I'm going to look at my PowerPoint here, not the one I was sharing before. I'll just come back here. So I want to make sure that I'm able to cover the things we wanted to here. So we've looked at entering the session. We're going to go ahead and look at in the classroom now. So I think we're right on, and we'll go to moderating the session. Okay, so can everyone still see it there? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So if I click on course room right now, we talked about these different settings just a moment ago. I'll click on join course room. And I should say too, so again, there's in the CougarView Quick Start, another plug for that, there's a lot of different guides and links here. We already have one recorded session on there that we've done and showing how to use it. So there's a lot of different guides and tutorials for this, for once you're trying to work on this on your own, and you're always free to call and say, hey, help me, I'm stuck on this one part. All right. Okay, so we're looking at the main course room now for my own personal sandbox here, and it says right now, welcome, you're the only one in the room. So this is what your room would look like if there's nobody else in there. Let's take a quick tour here. On the top left here, this is what we call sometimes the hamburger. It says open session menu. So this is the session menu. This is where you can start recording the session for people using their phone for their audio, if that's what they're preferring to do there, report different issues. Tell me more about Collaborate and Collaborate Help. Okay, so this is where you can be in there and you can be able to go to some of their links on your own and be able to figure out things and get some help as well, in addition to being able to reach out to us or the CougarView Quick Start course. At the bottom here is leave session, and of course you can also simply just close out of your tab and you'll be gone, but that's another way to do so. Okay, and to make that go away, simply X out of that there in the session menu. Okay, at the bottom of the screen here we have your my status and settings. I would say people probably don't use this one too often, but it can be a little fun here. So let's say you're leading a course. There's a few different tools you can use here. This one right here might be one of the most popular things on this. If you're doing open office hours and you're letting someone know that you'll be right back, you can click on away, just like with a lot of services, to let someone know you'll be right back for messaging and things like that. You can also let maybe the participants, they have these controls right here, so they can be able to indicate maybe if they're confused about something, if they agree, disagree. So you can be able to ask students, kind of knowledge checks every once in a while. How are things going? And let them respond through those options right there. Then, of course, here you have sharing your audio and your camera, and this is what can turn those on or off. And also someone can be able to raise their hand. And this way, if let's say if you're showing a PowerPoint presentation or you're talking for a while, as I have been, that I have been able to see if someone raises their hand, if they click this right here, I can see that, okay, they've put up their hand, they have a question. Okay. The nice thing about this group right now is we have a number of moderators that allows you to be able to keep closer tabs of what other people are asking about. So I'm very much taking advantage of that, and I appreciate the team that I'm working with. So go ahead, click on there to lower my hand. And then before I go into the Collaborate panel, any questions on those two areas right there?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So with the things, I never know what to call stuff. With the feature where it said like agree, disagree, happy, confused, whatever, is that like a poll? Does that essentially like poll the students, and then like will you see like responses pop up, or?
That is a good question. There is actually a polling feature, and we'll show you that. I do not remember, and I can hear from some of the others if we can use this as part of a poll as well, or if this is just.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. I was just wondering how
No.
it like manifests itself, you know.
Well, like if you see right here, we have the
Oh,
happy
it's like a
face.
little
I
smiley
can't.
face. That's cute. Okay.
Yeah, and I can't remember if you can do
Got
that
it.
with polling as well, but at least you can be able to see how people are doing on there. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. So like
that
if
gives you
I
an
were in a
idea.
session right now, oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
If I were in a session right now, there'd be like multiple people, like boxes with their faces, and if they wanted to click on one of those things, then it would show up which ones are confused, which ones
Yeah,
are
you can
satisfied.
have an idea. Yeah, you can have an idea of how is
Okay.
your class doing. I know this is one thing where we've heard from faculty where they're going, I'm used to be able to see their faces, right?
Yeah.
That's what helps me to see how are people are people understanding what we're saying? Are they confused? Well, we can't exactly show everybody's faces. There are different ways you can be on camera and things like that. But if I'm sharing my screen, it only shows so many faces, things like that.
I see.
There are other ways here to be able to get the pulse of the room and find out how are people doing. And so they can either be able to chat, use the chat to ask a question. They can be able to, of course, just say out loud, question, or they can be able to show on there how they're feeling about things. They can be able to raise their hand. So a number of different ways to do what we're used to or we're accustomed to doing. So it's a little different for you as faculty. It's a little different for them as students, but it also gives us a chance to be able to try some new things out. So yeah, good question. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else?
I set up a poll. I don't know if everybody can see it or not.
Yeah.
I can't see it right now because I'm in the other one, but if you guys can see it, answer her poll, and perfect. But that's also the polling is also a nice feature for if you want to find out how people are doing at that point in time. You can be able to send that out to them. You can start your class off with a poll of what do students think about a certain thing, maybe based on their reading. And so that's a nice way to be able to get a check even from the very beginning of the class that day or the session of where are people coming in. So the polling feature is another nice way of being able to see how students are doing as far as their understanding or other issues. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
How did it just show up like that? Where did it come from? How did you set it? That little polling icon.
If you are a moderator, I don't know if Randy you can show this, but in the share content button, and Randy will show that, it's the square with a little arrow shooting out of it. When you click on that, those are your share options, and polling is one of them. And it gives you a choice of a multiple choice question or a true false, and you just set it that way. It's super easy.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, with that in mind, I think we'll go ahead and start looking here at the Collaborate panel. We'll go into there. So if you click on there, you're going to see a few different areas here at the bottom. This first one, and we'll definitely get to the polling because that's little things like that especially if you show your students little features like that, that's when your students look and you go, wow, he or she is so tech savvy. That's so cool
They
that they
don't,
did
they will
that.
never think that.
Well, when you show them little things like that, sometimes they go, "Oh man, it's so cool that they can do that," and you're going, "Yeah." Or, well, especially when you do things that make it look like it took you a lot of time to set it up, and they're like, "Wow, how did they do that?" And you go, "That took hardly any time at all." So you'll see in just a moment here how easy some of those can be. So let's look here first at the chat feature. That's this little bubble here in the Collaborate panel, and so that's where you can come here and be able to chat with everyone, or just the be able to reach out to the moderators or a specific person. Now, right now, we're in my sandbox here, and so there's nobody else for me to chat with in this one. But in the session that we're running, of course, for this is when sometimes I have to remember, which one am I looking at right now? Am I looking at the sandbox that's mine, or am I looking at the session we're all running together? Because so that's why, yeah, you can be able to search for someone right here and be able to send a message to them. You can be able to message to everyone down here and say hi, things like that right there. Or I can be able to message out to the other moderators, of which in this session I'm the only one, but in the session we're all a part of, there are others as well. Okay, so chat can be a nice way of being able to, especially for the students, especially for them, where they can be able to say, say, post, I have a question, or say, I didn't understand that, can you say that again, something like this. It's a nice way for them to be able to do that without it suddenly being an interruption to everyone else. You as the moderator can see that question, or others can as well, but especially if they're responding straight to you, you can be lecturing, you can be talking to them, and then see the question and be able to address it immediately. So that's a way to be able to, the question will pop up to them, or will pop up to you, and you can then respond to that. So that's chatting right there. Next to that is attendees. So in my session where it's just my personal course right now, I'm the only one in here right now, and I'm the moderator. If you look at the chat session for wherever all the rest of us are, you'll see a number of different people there. But this is also where you can be able to change people's change the permissions. So first of all, if I come up here, it says more options. This is where I can be able to mute everyone. So again, let's say if we're starting a class session together, or we have a group going and a lot of people are talking, happy to just be in communication with each other right now, and you want to get things going, you can just mute everybody for a moment. And suddenly they go, hey, professor, what happened to my microphone? You say, I muted it. So that's one way to deal with that there. You can find a specific attendee in the group who's over there, be able to look at their information. You can detach this panel so that you can see the participants, even if you move to something else. So if I move to the chat right now, I can see the chat and still see the information on the participants. Okay. I can move that back. I can merge that panel back by going to the dots. So keep looking for dots. Dots is the way that little repeating dots or lines are the ways that we can find things here in our in Collaborate Ultra. Okay, and also here attendee controls for if there were other people in here, I would be able to click on here. Or actually, I should say, if I can click on the dots for other people in the room, and I can then change their permissions. So if there were participants in here right now, I can click on their dots, and then I could be able to make them a presenter or a moderator as well. Okay. Any questions on those two areas so far, chat or attendees?
Nope.
Is the attendee area where you do the breakout rooms, Randy?
Not yet. No, that will be here in sharing content.
Okay.
We'll save that for just a second. So good question, Ann. Thank you. Yeah. So this is now actually once we're in breakout rooms, here in attendees is where you can change people and move them to different rooms. So that's a good question right there. Yeah, that's where you can be able to move them from one room to another, or you can jump from one room to another as the moderator. Okay. I'm gonna go here to this widget. It says My Settings, and this is some of the different settings during the session here. Audio and video settings, some help on different areas there, checking things. Notification settings in particular, this can be helpful during the session. You can be advised here, you can see a pop-up notification, or you can hear an audio notification, or you can have a browser pop-up of some kind. so that you can know, for example, it says here someone joined or left the breakout group or session. If you're wanting to know when people have joined, or maybe you're hosting an open online hours or office hours, open office hours. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, but English is not coming to me right now. So if you want, maybe you're sitting, you're working on something else, you're looking at a different screen, and someone comes into the room, you'll hear like bring, a little sound there that will let you know that someone has come in, and then you can be able to go and start to work with them. So these are different settings here to let you know when people have come in, when they've left, and be able to give you a bit of a heads up on what's going on. That can be very helpful. Other areas here, again, things like raising the hand, pop-ups on those, so to be able to let you know as you're moderating the session what's going on. And then lastly here, as we saw previous to this with session settings, okay, different controls the participants have. Okay, so drawing on a whiteboard. So this should look like what we saw before we came into the room. So you can change those things again, and you can be able to alter things as you go along. And those are the settings for the session itself. Questions on there? If not, let's get to the fun stuff, shall we? Let's get here to sharing content. Sorry for the pause there. So sharing content, we have a number of different features here, including, let's start off here with the whiteboard. So this is something this is really nice for brainstorming, for example, just same as a whiteboard in a classroom, right? You have a number of different tools here you can be able to use. Up here with the arrow, you'll click on specific things. That's for selecting different objects, such as here with shapes. If I want to have shapes of different kinds here. Okay, so maybe we want to highlight something, and I saw one person in our staff yesterday, she was able to draw a very nice fish using the different shapes and some of the other things we have here. Now that may not be very important in your class, but it was a lot of fun to see that happen. But one of the nicer is here as far as inserting text. And so being able to work, because it's obviously a little difficult to use the pencil here if you're wanting to actually write. You can do that, of course. But that's a little more difficult using just a mouse. So being able to do that as typing that text in can be a lot easier. You can change the color of the text as well, or the color of the text and of the text writing there. If you want to delete one of these objects, simply click on one of them here once you've clicked on the arrow and backspace, and that can go away. Okay. If you want everything to go away, come up here to clear, and the whole thing will go away. So again, this can be nice for brainstorming, working with your students, getting ideas on the board, being able to just talk about things in general. That's the whiteboard. Okay. Now, I want to switch to something else to share in content. So before that, I come up here to stop sharing. I should mention that Collaborate Ultra does not, you're not able to share multiple things at one time, or they're not able to overlap each other essentially. So if I were to go on and try to share my screen before I clicked off stop, you would still be seeing the whiteboard. Okay, so you have to stop one before you can go to the other. Okay. Now currently right now we're using this feature, share applications, screen here, and there's a few different options here. Okay, so if I click on there, it will ask me if I want to share my entire screen, if I want to share a specific tab or specific window within it, or if I want to share something here with Chrome, and I have a whole bunch of things open in Chrome right now, as you can see. And from there, then I would click on one of those, and let's see here, let's go ahead and share. Well, the idea at least is the fact that I could then be able to go to this right here. We'll click on Share Collaborate Ultra Help for Moderators. And now it's sharing that screen right there. Okay. And so now I'm sharing in two different courses. This is kind of weird, so I want to get out of that just because I don't want anything to be too weird there. So I stop that, and now it goes back to Now I can go back to the course I was looking at. Okay. So that's so far the whiteboard and the application screen. Any questions as far as that?
Nope.
Okay. No? Okay, perfect. All right. And again, if there are questions along the way, please feel free to ask. So now, if you're wanting to share a PowerPoint or a PDF or something else like that, now we come down to share files. Okay. And actually, I had one I was going to show people, but I can be able to bring that up here. It was in the other session, or the one we're running. So if we have, well, I'll bring it up right here as well. So we can drag a PowerPoint, PDF, or other files, and depending upon the size of the file, the larger the file, the longer it will take. This one is a short file, so it didn't take very long. If you're someone who, I was talking with someone earlier, and they have like 50-something slides, that one's going to take a little longer. Now that's also, well, that's a course where they're meeting like 5 days, 40 hours that week. So there's a whole lot that they're covering in just a short period of time. That might be for the whole week, I don't know, but it's, so that PowerPoint would take a little longer to upload. So you see that it's been uploaded now, and I can click share now. And it says select a slide to begin sharing. So I'll click on the first slide, and now whoever else was in my class, was in my course, would be able to see the contents of this PowerPoint, or they would just see this. They wouldn't necessarily see the the navigation for it. But so now I can click through, and they can be able to see what's on my PowerPoint slides. And if you notice up in the top here, we have the same controls as we did in the whiteboard. So if we want to write on there and be able to add some additional notes on things, we can be able to do that. Okay. So we have some different options there, and again, I can be able to clear all that right there. Okay. So that is sharing a PowerPoint slide and how we do that. Now, if you notice over here again, it's saying navigate slides. I can, well, again, if I want to stop here, or if I want to move something else, I need to click stop sharing. And with share files, to come back to the other options, I click on, click back right there. Okay, back to this page here. Well, you guys are drinking out of the fire hose right now, aren't you? This is fun. Any questions there on sharing files? Thought I heard something, but no. Okay. If not, we'll go ahead and we'll look at polling here for a moment. Okay. So we can do the multiple choice or yes, no. Okay. So let's come in here to multiple choice, for example. We can say, is the best university, and I'm writing quickly here, so I'm making some mistakes, in Columbus. And I'm not going to worry about the typos right now. I can, well, okay, it'll, Grammarly is being nice to me there, so I can say CSU, and I can make up some other options. I can give some additional choices, or delete those choices, and then I can start the actual poll. And now once I've done that, now it gives students the options of seeing those right there. Now, the options, the way you saw this a little earlier was a little different, because you didn't see the stop, the end polling right here, or the lock poll. Now, if students were responding, I'd be able to see over here in the numbers how many have responded. What's the popularity of each choice? Okay, so that's with the multiple choice polling. So I could end that poll, and we could go on with the lesson, or I could do the yes/no choices and do it similarly. Okay. So if I wrote on here and there were other people in here, I know you guys aren't able to respond to that one, but that would be one way to do that right there. Now yes/no questions aren't always necessarily the best, as far as finding out how people are doing. You want to find out a little bit more, but that's one option right there. Or you could use it for other purposes, not just for knowledge checks, things like that. So that was polling. Any questions on there? If not, I will go ahead and move to breakout groups here, if that's okay. and we can see how those would be set up. So let's say, okay, and it's a little different because there's only I'm the only person in this room. But we can see it in a moment here in the session for everyone, where all of us are actually participants, what this looks like in practice. So if I click on breakout groups, okay, now right now it's not going to give me the choice of how I want to assign groups, because really it's just me in here. Okay, so I have to assign it. It's not going to bother to asking me about if I want to make the groups random. If I have a number of people in here, right here, it gives me the choice. Do I want to make them a custom assignment? Like, do I want to choose where everyone's going to be, or do I want to do random assignment of groups? Okay, and I can also allow, or I can click for allowing attendees to switch groups, which groups they want to go into. I don't usually do that, especially if, well, I mean, if I've made them customized, then I want them in specific groups. All right, here it says the main room. This is where we are. This is where this is where we're located right now. And then we have the different groups that we can be put into. Okay, so I can be able to assign myself to another room as the moderator, but I can also, my participants would be listed here, and I can be able to move them down to the different groups. Okay, and
So-
with that, I can be able, yeah, go ahead.
It's drag and drop.
Yep.
Okay.
Drag and drop from, so drag and drop the people, and like say with this, the session that we're running, I can be able to move the moderators to different groups right now as a moderator, so that we can be able to have people with different concerns or questions. So if we're continuing this session right now, but someone comes in right now and says, oh, I have a question about gradebook. Okay, well, we can make it so that one of the moderators and that person, they go into another breakout room, and they're able to work one-on-one while the rest of us are still in this main room right here. So for example, if you were doing some group projects in your class and you were having everyone come into the main room first, then you could be able to either assign groups if you have like set teams, or if you were working, if you didn't really care about the groups and you just wanted people to be in them, you can make those as random groups, and then you can go ahead and put people into those. You can be able to start this group time. So we'll look at that in a moment for the whole group. But was there a question? If not, okay, I'm going to go ahead and click here, start, and we'll see what happens. There we go. And finish it. So it says starting breakout groups. And at this moment, okay, yeah. So when you click breakout groups, just now you would have still been able to hear me. But once it happens, then it's kind of like if you were all in the same classroom, and then you had said, all right, U6, you go into room 212, U6 go into room 214, and U6 go into this other classroom over here. Well, suddenly, once you're in the hallway, you can't hear everybody, specific people. During that transition right there, you wouldn't be able to hear everybody else. Well, sometimes you can, but it's not set. Now I put myself into group one, and of course, again, I'm still the only one in here. But as the moderator, and for you as moderators in your classes, you'll be able to see where are the different people in the different classrooms or the different groups, and you can also jump to different rooms. So for instance, if I have some people here in group 2, I can click here, and I can move into group 2. And once I'm in that group, I can see what's going on with the people in this room here. I can see who's listed. I can be able to hear what they're talking about. I can talk with them and see what they're doing. Kind of like if you were moving from one room to another, or if you were in a classroom and you were having them do group projects or some teamwork, you could be moving from one table to another kind of thing, where you're moving around the room, essentially. You won't be able to hear the other people in there, but you're hearing the people in that group right there. And then if I want to, I can come back to the room. Okay. And so, this can also be something, like I said earlier, that I believe it was Shannon who had a question about, be able to meet with students one-on-one. Well, you could do this where if you want to have an open office hour, then you could have people come in to the main room, and then you would work one-on-one with someone else in another group, like in another room. Okay, another group
Yeah.
essentially, so that you could be able to once you're done with meeting with that person, you essentially have that main room as a waiting room.
Hmm. That makes sense.
And then once you're done, well, actually, I should mention this beforehand before we go on. If you've been recording, let's say you were having a class session here and you were recording it because you had clicked over here to record, to start recording, it will only record as long as someone is in the main room. If everyone leaves the main room, so let's say you've started groups and you've put everyone into different groups, that recording will stop and it cannot record what's going on in the different breakout groups. Okay, so that's something to be aware of there. So as soon as, now, once you have someone back in the main room, or as long as you've left someone there, the recording for that main room will continue. So that's just something to be aware of there. So let's say we've been all in a bunch of different groups here, and I say, all right, it's time to come back. Then I stop the breakout groups. I can start recording it again now, and then have everyone join again. Okay. Or have everyone in the same room, and the recording will go. Any questions there on breakout groups?
Nope.
Randy, I just want to make sure I understood correctly. You cannot record breakout rooms, just the main room.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Question?
Yes.
About recording. Say we do a presentation, maybe using well, first of all, I saw you load in a file to present your PowerPoint. Can one load multiple files in at the same time and then just turn them on and off, working down the line through a course if one has multiple?
Yeah. So
PowerPoints?
let's okay, let's go to another one here. So I have another PowerPoint I can load up here. And this brings up an important point here that if I want to share a PowerPoint or some other file with my students, I can't load it in to the classroom today, log out of the session, and then open it up again tomorrow. It won't be there. I have to open it up, or I have to load that up at the beginning of each time that I'm meeting with them. But that's also kind of like if we were coming into a classroom, maybe what I wrote on the board isn't there the next day, someone's come in and erased it, kind of thing. So something to be aware of. So now you can see we have two different files here. Okay. So I just loaded this one right here. So now I can be able to start sharing this one. If I stop that, I can switch back and start sharing that one again as well. So if you want to get it, so a best practice here is, let's say you're going to be meeting with some students and you have a few different things you want to share, or even just one file to share. It's kind of like, in your regular classroom, it's good to get logged in and get your get whatever PowerPoints and things like that up beforehand, so that when you come to that point in the class, it's already ready to go. So yes, you're going to have multiple files uploaded there, and you can be able to bring those up, and it's good to get those done ahead of time.
Thanks. Another question?
Yeah, absolutely.
For recording, okay, we can't record in breakout rooms. Can we record, or is it already sort of by default recording everything that might be a presentation like this? And would it record a whole session? I guess what I'm finally getting at is like, okay, you're done with either a PowerPoint presentation or something in particular, or the whole class. How do you turn off the recording, and then where do you save it to, or how does it save for future access?
Okay, excellent question. So if we want to come in here and start recording, okay, we can do that at any time right there. If it as far as I know, it will not simply start recording automatically, like if you bring in a PowerPoint or something like that. So that's something you have to go ahead and make sure you're recording. Okay, so you have to choose to do that. Now, if I want to stop the recording, I come back and click on there, and we'll see after this where it comes up. But it's actually, if you remember all the way back to when we were just looking at Cougar View, that, in fact, here, let me go ahead and click on there. You guys still see here, this is what the course looks like or before we come into it? This is my quick review page here.
Mhm.
Okay, so again, I've got my course room here, area here, and I can be able to create sessions. Notice here it says sessions. So if I come to these lines here, got a little hamburger here, it gives me option of choosing from sessions, which is what we're doing right now, or recordings. Okay, and so this is from a recording from a previous meeting I had with someone. Okay, the recording that we made just a few seconds ago, that one will eventually pop up over here. Okay, and so when you record, it will take a few minutes for processing the video usually, especially if it's a longer video. But so those will pop up right over here. So you can switch between sessions or between recordings. And so once the recording is there, anybody who's in your course, they can go there and they can be able to access it on their own. So if I click right here, I can be able to click Watch Now. Or if I come over to the dots on the right side, I can be able to, again, click on Watch Now, or I can download it. Now that's only if I had made the settings earlier, so I could be able to click, download recording. But if I've done that, then I or a student can be able to download this recording. Now some of these controls they don't have here, like editing the name and things like that, but they can be able to come in and watch that. They can come into the course and watch this anytime. You can also, with downloading the presentation, downloading the recording, you can then be able to upload it to another place in your course, so that if I want this to be another link that they can watch in Module 1 or Module 2 or wherever, instead of having them come back to Collaborate Ultra or whatever we choose to call it at the time, we can just say watch. We can upload it to a certain place there and have them just watch that. Watch the recording for anybody, for example, who wasn't able to come to the live session. So that's one option for them right there. So excellent question. Any other questions like that, or on recording or anything?
Thank you.
Okay. Let me look at my own PowerPoint slide here to make sure I'm covering the things I wanted to be able to share with people here. So we looked at sharing or starting and entering a session, moderating a session, sharing content like your screen or your PowerPoint, creating and working with groups, and setting up a separate session. Oh, okay. We haven't done that, nor we talked about recording, but we haven't looked at how to do a separate session altogether. Okay. So let's come back to here. So, for example, if you want to have a regularly scheduled office hour session, okay, or you want to meet with a specific student, okay. Over here in sessions, again, earlier we were just coming into the main course room. That's what we have open over here, okay. And I'm going to go, well, I'll keep that open for now, but we can come here to create session, either one of these right here. And first we give it a title. So let's say here's a test. Okay. And once we do that, we can either just go straight into the session then, or if we want to have it set for a different time and a different day, we can do that right here. We can also make it a repeated session, so that, again, let's say I want to have every Friday at 3 o'clock is going to be open office hours. So I can be able to do that where I say here, starting this day, at 3 o'clock, I can be able to do that right there, and we'll have those end here on May 1st. Okay, it was being the last day of those. Or I can also, it says too long for repeating here. It's because having the repeat set. Oh, actually, no, it's I think it's only. Which thing am I missing here? I think it's as far as the number. Okay, there we go. Well, anyway, you can play around with that there, but that's which thing is I'm missing? I'm forgetting here. The easier way to do this is to make it an open session where they can come in any time, but then you can't do it as a repeat. Now there's something I'm forgetting here as far as why it was giving me that issue. As far as the time. Anybody else here jump in if you remember exactly what it is I'm missing there, but you can be able to set it up so it repeats weekly or every week, certain days, things like that. And after occurrences 10, Okay. And I can get back to you on what I'm forgetting here on the time settings. Kim or anybody else, if you remember what I'm missing here, well, it just says choose a shorter session. So let's go with.
Your end session has already gone by. See, it's 4:13 now, and you had
Right. Oh, a good point. Yeah. So let's start this. Well, it should be for this Friday, so that shouldn't matter right there.
you recorded past the time.
You've got from 4:03 instead of 4:30.
Yeah, put 4:30.
For the time here.
For your
Below.
start,
The day.
the date.
Yeah. So that'd be this Friday. I wanted to start it at.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you do.
So that's
Here.
why I'm trying to figure out. I'm not remembering here what it is I'm missing, because this should be allow here. Sessions are too long for repeat. Oh, or it may be actually that it's the number of weeks, where it
Yeah.
indicates the time, but that might be it. So let's see if we can get that here. So if I just say I want to do it through this period of time right here, there we go. Okay, so it won't do it for so many weeks like that. So you can be able to set it that way right there. Okay. So we'll set it for that time, and that should be fine. Okay. Well, now it's changing it back. Okay.
I was able
Oh,
to
well.
do it just by putting in repeat weekly, and I set up this a repeat session for 6 weeks.
I think that's part of it. Yeah, I'm thinking. No. Well,
Yeah.
See, there's different options for repeating it there, and now it's working. Okay, actually, I think it might be that it's what is the last session day. I can't remember exactly now, but either way, you have that option. You can be able to play around with that there.
Yeah.
Trying to show a whole lot of things here. Different entry time. You can be able to say when it is that people can start joining the session, things like that right there. I'll mention something too here, may seem a little off topic, but for anyone who's heard about issues recently with, well, no, right there, mention of Zoom. Zoom and some other companies like that have been having an issue with people entering into your meeting if they weren't supposed to, and posting obscene or things like that. You shouldn't have that issue here, since this is in Cougar View. The only people who are able to access your course are the ones who are supposed to be in there. So, but for nationwide right now, we've been seeing some reports about things like with Zoom or other companies where people have been able to get into sessions and post some really unfortunate things. So, so really, really sad there.
Called Zoom bombing.
Yeah, it's one of those times where you go, what is wrong with people? So, but anyway, so now we can save this here. Okay. And now we have this folder you see right here, and it has these different sessions set up automatically. So your students could come in here, and when the time has come, as it says right here, not yet started, when it's the time for that session, they can be able to click on there, and they would be able to enter into it and be able to go into that session. Okay. So that's another way to be able to go about this here as well. All right, with that in mind, let's see if there was anything else here, setting up a separate session. But yeah, so that's how you can be able to create a recurring session or some other special section. And now I remember the one I wanted to mention on those. Okay, again, we mentioned this earlier. If you want to send out a guest link to some other person, or for example, like you have multiple sections, this is a great time to be able to copy that link, and then you can email that to other people and be able to do that. So that's that information right there. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and take us all back to the main one. And so this is where we're back to the regular session now, after that long journey right there. Any questions? I know there's a whole lot of information. Any things you want to follow up with, or just, it's too much, it's scary, I don't like this? What are your thoughts at this point here? So.
It's not too bad. It's easier than I thought.
I think I've got what I need to start the adventure.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Who knows?
That's what we want to hear. And again, play around with it, like Kim said earlier. if something doesn't work or if something goes wrong during class, with internet or whatever it is, go with the flow. But this can be a really, really powerful tool for you in your class here and to be able to try different things. And so not just for the rest of the semester, but we hope people go, hey, this is a nice tool that I can be able to use even if our face-to-face classes start again. So we'll be able to use this as kind of a blended learning model of your classes. So this, yeah, but let us know if you have questions. Again, the Cougar View quick starts that we have for people, there are directions there that repeat a lot of this, including, some of you are going, wow, this is all great. How do I add this tool again in my course? Those are the step-by-step guides are there for that, to be able to look at how to do that, and a lot of tutorials we can send you, and again, just reach out to us. So if you have any questions on how to do a lot of this here, just let us know. So.
Okay.
Here's one. It just seems to, am I mistaken? I haven't tried a lot of these tools, external tools, and it just sort of duplicates some things that I can be able to do with Camtasia or Captura. It strikes me sort of that way, but maybe I just don't know enough about those other programs.
Okay, good question. So some of these tools, they serve different purposes. So this is a great one for having people meet synchronously, be able to have people come together. But with an online course, we don't, especially because people's schedules are different, and lots of times they're taking an online course because they can't be able to come to a regular face-to-face class. This semester is obviously a little different on the rules on other the normal practices on that, but even so, people this semester still maybe, maybe you had a little older of a student, non-traditional student, and now that their kids are home, they can't be able to join the normal session times, or for whatever reason, work schedules, things like that, whatever it is, maybe they can't come at the normal time. And so a best practice with a lot of online learning is to have to use, like, say, Kaltura is a video creation tool. And so instead of having everybody come at the same time for sharing a PowerPoint lesson and be able to share information that way, you can record your lectures ahead of time and be able to upload those into Cougar View so that they can be able to watch those on their own, be able to watch those at different time. And Ann Newland, who is our fantastic accessibility specialist, might have a comment on this as well. Go ahead, Ann.
Yes, I just wanted to say that you can record, it doesn't have to be an entire lecture. You can record little weekly updates, little important highlights of your content for students. Really, best practice is to keep your videos short, less than 10 minutes. So think about video not in terms of a lecture, but as in little connected pieces of information and content for your students. And really, online learning is designed to be mostly asynchronous, which is pre-recorded video and or just print documents, of course, and readings, of course, with discussions and ways for engagement and assessment. But the whole group synchronous kind of sessions really can happen fairly infrequently. Office hours are a good example, but it's beneficial to just kind of think of online learning as a different paradigm than the face-to-face classroom.
That makes sense. What I guess I was thinking that if one did a PowerPoint, and 10 minutes, I understand, the issue with just large files. But if one recorded it, then downloaded it, even if it were brief, what would be the difference between, sharing the download would be equivalent to making, one could then post it to say another module in Cougar View to have that available.
If you did not need to have a synchronous session, then you could just record your voiceover of the PowerPoint presentation as a video and post that, period. If there was no need for everybody to be in the session at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Another
questions
benefit-
about that, but I don't know if this is the right place to ask them.
It's a great place
You're
to ask.
Yeah.
So all right, so I'm trying to figure out ways to, yeah, do like voiceover lectures on PowerPoint. And for some reason, I know that Kaltura is supposed to be a way to do that, but when I go into Cougar View and I follow the instructions,
Uh-oh.
do you know why that is?
Okay,
We missed the actual question there. You said when you're in Cougar View and then what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so
Yeah,
when I'm
that's
in
okay.
Cougar View and I'm trying to access Kaltura to use it to record a video or a voiceover on a PowerPoint, I go into My Media, which is what the instructions tell you to do, or yeah, so like I download it like you do with Blackboard, and then I go into My Media, and it says access denied, and I can't do anything else.
And
Do
you're
you know
signed
why?
in, you're an instructor in the course that you're
Yes.
going into?
Yes.
Okay, I need to troubleshoot that.
Okay.
Could you
We can do
give
that
me,
separately if that's, better.
no, well, if you just give me your information and let me
Sure.
see, I should give you on the screen. Your tell me your name, please.
I'm Shannon Godlove.
Okay, Shannon. All right. I couldn't really tell from from all the information. Shannon, and this is your username, and you're in a course in which you are an instructor, and you're still getting access denied.
Yes, for
Okay.
on the My Media tab when I'm trying to access Kaltura.
Okay, that should not
Yep.
be happening. So I'm
Okay.
going to into that, and can I send you an email back if we sign
That'd be
off? I know
great.
it. Okay. All right. I'm gonna look into
Yep.
that right now.
Thank
That
you.
certainly makes it more difficult for making videos, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Use the tools. Absolutely.
Can I follow
So I
up
was-
with?
Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, I was just wondering then, really, because I do things, I want to do one course really synchronous, and then the other I was thinking of just adding what I've been really trying to do, or I've been meaning to do for actually too long and haven't done, is actually just prepare some small PowerPoint thingies and post them into an asynchronous course. Should that be then with Camtasia? Is that the preferred tool for that?
So for recording video.
No, recording a PowerPoint lecture, just brief, and is 10 minutes still really best practice tops?
Right. Camtasia will do that. Also, Kaltura will do that. One of the issues, there's more steps if you use Camtasia, because if you use Camtasia, you're going to have to create the recording. You're going to have to, produce the Camtasia project. I guess you're, fairly familiar with Camtasia. But then you're also going to have to upload that either to My Media so that you can insert that into courses that way, or you're going to have to upload it directly into your content area. If you record with Kaltura, Kaltura is integrated with Cougar View already. So when you record a Kaltura video, you then select Save and Upload, and it's going to be available to insert with just a couple clicks into any of your courses. So there are fewer steps involved there. Other comparisons of those programs, Kaltura has some editing abilities, some editing tools. You can trim the ends fairly easily. Camtasia has many more editing resources. So, what are you looking at? Are you looking for ease of ease of insertion, ease of use into your courses, then I'd say Kaltura. If you're looking for, ability to do some fancy editing, etc., then I'd say Camtasia. So, you can do pretty much the same thing with either of those programs. I find Kaltura to be more convenient. So.
And Shannon, I see you have your hand up.
I do, yeah. So because I couldn't get into Kaltura, I was trying to find another way to do it. And so I was trying to record within PowerPoint. And so record the voiceover within PowerPoint and save the PowerPoint as a PowerPoint SX, which was a file. And that seemed to work. The only problem was I realized when students said they couldn't hear the audio that I was accidentally uploading the PowerPoint X, not the PowerPoint SX, which I just figured out today after I cried last night when I thought I made all these videos that they couldn't hear.
Oh.
But so does that work equally well for the students, right? If I made a PowerPoint presentation with the audio in PowerPoint and then just upload the file, just make sure I do the right type of file.
That can be really cumbersome for these students.
Okay.
And I did just get into my media from your course, History of the
Okay.
English Language. Perhaps you were trying to access my media from a course in which you were enrolled as a student.
But I'm not a student in any of my courses.
Well, perhaps in the Cougar View Quick Start Guide or the USG Rapid Guide, maybe some of those courses that we've enrolled you in as a student recently.
No.
Give me another course. I'm impersonating you.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I've looked at Student View a couple of times. Could that have done it?
That could have been it. You could have been under Student View. Yes.
Okay.
If you were in Student View, you'll get the same kind of permissions and things as they do when you were doing it. So
Okay. I think I wasn't, but I might have been. So if you could check, so History of the English Language is one class. My other two classes are World Literature and English 1102.
Okay. 1102. All right. I'm going to check on 1102.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to access my media from any of your courses in which you are an instructor. We've had the unusual circumstance of some faculty who have not had the My Media link in their nav bar.
Yeah.
But that's not your situation. I'm in the.
Okay.
I think you probably, came up with the most likely solution is maybe you were temporarily in Student View, and
Maybe.
so I want you to try and
I will.
email me, okay?
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Anne. I'll try it later and I'll let you know.
Take
Perfect.
responsibility for making sure you get in, okay?
Thanks so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
and then Dr. Tomasi, do you have a question?
Yes, actually I have a few observations. Let me give you a view here of who you're talking to. I started doing this back in the 2005s, distance learning and all around the state of Georgia and so on, and TV. And I come up with about 5 things over the last hour and a half that it just sort of lessons learned. Number 1, we all know Murphy's Law. If something will go wrong, it will go wrong. Now, that, as we say, it's not rocket science, but I figured out it was about 1 out of 8 sessions would be knocked off the air. Just we had sunspots one time, we had electricity go down. It's just things that you cannot control. And so I just automatically accepted the fact that 1/8 of my classes were going to go down. 1/8 is about right. And the reason I say 8 is because we used to have 8 or 9 evening classes per term, and at least one of them would go down. So 1 out of 8, 1 out of 9. The second thing, and this is also humorous, you got to make sure, you'll be surprised, I've seen it, you got to tell people to wear clothes.
Oh no.
Oh my.
You know, I mean, you can use your own imagination, but let me just share a quick story. We used to have a video camera that would, of a person, of course, while they're taking their exam, to lock it down, and it would pick up noise. And people used to walk out of the shower with the towel around their head and
Oh my.
what do you call it, a robe on, you know, and then they would lean forward and. You know, for us guys, it was, you know, we didn't have a problem, but I just, those are just things that you got to think about. I know that's obvious, but people didn't. I mean, I actually saw it. So, and I wasn't peeking. It wasn't like I was peeping Tom or anything. The other thing that I've noticed is, now I'm from up north, so I'm a fast talker. You have to speak slowly. And this is a compliment, by the way. If you're from the South, you usually speak slowly. And the machine or the pixels going through will keep up with you. But if you're an Yankee and you keep talking all the time, you talk too fast, then it'll freeze up on you. So, and that's hard to do when you're teaching, as most of you know, because you're teachers. Just because human nature, we're teachers, we talk fast. Or maybe it's just Yankee teachers. I don't know. And then the last thing, I think that I didn't see who the name of the gentleman was, or even we talked about 10 or 15 minutes, and you probably have all seen this a million times, but you know, I've heard of Khan Academy. And Khan, almost all of his lectures are 10 to 15 minutes. And that's primarily why his are 10 to 15 minutes, whether it has to do with mitosis or meiosis or, you know, aerobic respiration or any other thing he has, balancing your checkbook. They're all very slow. Of course, you could see his personality come out, but it's still 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm sure it's because it's just too much information, too many megabits or of information trying to get through in a 10 to 15, 20-minute time. So that's just a few things, and we used to do this. I'm not just kind of letting you know. We would do it up to Atlanta, and we would do it over to Augusta and over to Brunswick, and sometimes to Covington and some other places around the state. Also Fort Bragg, and so that was really quite a ways away as well. So just some after action report kind of thing that I've noticed over the years when trying to do these kinds of classes.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's something too, like as far as, you know, why the 10 to 15 minutes at the most, things like that. Well, you know, as far as from the student perspective on some of this, where it's nice if I can come to the webinar and be a part of this, or if I can come to the live class session. But then if I can come back to, and as fantastic as this webinar has been, I'm sure, it would be even better if after this, if I could go to a playlist, for example, where this general kind of presentation was there, and there were shorter videos, which it was this 5 to 7 minutes specifically on how to enter into the course, and this 5 to 7 minutes or 10 minutes or however, you know, not too long, on how to set up groups. And then as I as a faculty member, I don't want to go back and watch the whole webinar again. I can come back to just that video, be able to come to that specific information right there, because maybe that's what I wanted to refresh myself on. Or for your students, I know that this part is going to be on the test right here. This is something I'm still struggling with. I want to go back to just that video, maybe as part of a whole playlist. And so you as a faculty member can say, all right, this is the information I want to cover. Can I chunk this well here so that it's going to be that, you know, 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. And that could be maybe 1 or 2 slides you're covering as an idea. It doesn't have to be specific slides like that, but as a way of being able to organize that information well, so that you have natural breaking points if possible. It's a lot easier, you know, when you see playlists on YouTube where, okay, it goes from one video to the next one as far as continuing that idea, continuing that explanation. And so it's a lot easier for people to be able to digest that information. Obviously, you know, we've had this here for, you know, about an hour and a half now. And this is so much information we know. So this is part of the reason we say go back and watch that shorter tutorials, or you know, go back and look at your notes you've been taking and start to play around with things. And then as you do that, then you go, oh, I remember this thing they said at that one point. We're going to share this recording afterwards so that you have it. But this is so much information right here, and being able to chunk that more makes it much more digestible, a lot easier to deal with for students. So.
Yeah.
And then the one other thing I'll say on that too is if you make these videos through Kaltura, for example, you can make it through others, but then once you upload it to MyMedia, then you can request captioning.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. And captioning is integrated with Kaltura, which is integrated with Cougar View, and it makes it really easy to also add your videos to your courses.
So
Captioning also on this, I saw at least the words closed captioning, add or something.
So that does have a feature where you can be able to select on there. I can't remember right now if, and maybe others can, I can look it up, but if that's where it's automatic captioning or if you have to have someone doing live captioning. And do you remember?
I know that you can assign someone the live captioner role during a session, and that is a learned skill to be able to do live session captioning.
You can also go back and you can add captions in later, but again, that's something that someone that has to take the time to do, which is another reason why it's nice to be able to do the videos where you can have those as captions, and then maybe, you know, have less frequent meetings like this here.
Right.
So having the videos there. And then Dr. Tomasi, go ahead. Yes.
Couple more things, sort of my after action, and you'll all agree. Some people can't hear very well.
Yeah.
So if you go to any meeting today, you know, or I should say any TV, it reminds me of MSNBC or Fox with all these channels here, tic-tac-toe pattern. You're going to see somebody doing signing. With the closed captioning, that solves that issue. But having a couple of deaf students, graduate students in my class over the years, that's why I tried, again, remember, I'm a Yankee that talks too fast, that I had to slow down so that he could read my lips. Not read my lips kind of thing, you know, not satirical, but just I had to enunciate, and I really felt bad sometimes for people in the classroom. We did it both ways. You had some in class and some on the internet. You feel like you're speaking to somebody who doesn't fully understand the words that you're saying, but you have to do that because the machine is slow, and if the person on the other end doesn't have the sign. So you talked about closed captioning, and that may be the answer. But you might just somewhere in the back of your mind just think, what about signing? I mean, I don't know what the answer is other than to bring in a signer, but you're not going to do that anyway. And two other quick things, and I think that's all I got. You got three, at least on my screen, I see there's 3 pictures and one person that's not pictured. All right, I wasn't pictured until now. I have found that people that are not pictured, one of 2 things. Either they're not in the room anymore and they've gone somewhere else, or they're sleeping. And we had, I don't know if you, I guess the moderator probably does not have the capability of turning somebody else's camera on. Hopefully they don't have that ability to do that. But I mean, I would not hear anything from somebody in Covington or Augusta or whatever, and I'd say, you know, Willie, are you there? You there? Oh yes, Dr. Tomasi, I'm here. You know darn well he's asleep somewhere. So, and that was just with 3 or 4 over there and 5 or 6 here. So if you're gonna, if I probably won't ever partake in this, I'll miss it. mean, I'm near the end of my career. I only teach part-time, and I've taught graduate classes and yada, yada, yada. But I teach a freshman level health class, for exercise science. But I think it's neat, and I'm glad to see this, because I've been around Blackboard, which some of us might remember, since 1999, and I've really seen this grow up. And I am so pleased to see what's happening right now with what you're doing here at the university. I think it's a great, great opportunity.
Well, thank you.
So,
We're
shout
done.
out.
we have a great team here, and we're very pleased to be able to help people. So thank you for those words. So
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I
Thank
think
you,
I
Andy and
can jump
Ann.
out here and make a call.
Yep.
yeah. So if there's
we
any
all-
other questions, go ahead. What's that?
Are we all done now? Pretty much.
I think we are, unless there's any other questions. But otherwise, we appreciate you guys coming today. And again, we're always here, so send us calls or emails, and let us know. But otherwise, I think that's probably good for today. So thank you, folks. Appreciate you coming. And
Thank you, and you're doing a great job. Please keep it up.
thank you. We will do. Thank you. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and switch off the recording. And thank you, folks, for coming.
Thank you.